there's always something in photography that keeps you moving forward, and you may get there in a moment and you say, oh yes, I've got that, and then that opens another door for another question of some other problem that you could solve. And that's what I like about it. It's not like there's no there. Like it's a continual searching. I live on the beach, I live by the water, I'm here every single day walking on the boardwalk, and there's a kind of energy, there's a relaxation, and there are a lot of stories that kind of unfold by the shore and by the water. Well, my mother put me on the stage at a very early age. I was taking dance lessons and piano lessons, and when I was twirling a baton, so I was always in the performing arts, a lot of music. My father was a photographer, he played around with cameras, and for me the idea of storytelling has always been a part of what I do professionally, is looking at scripts, reading scripts, trying to figure out, as a kind of doing detective work, who is this character, what is the motivation of this character, why is this person doing what they're doing, and if I'm playing this character, why am I doing what I'm doing? So I think photography, I'm intrigued about stories that I see in the streets, what has happened before. And the detective aspect of it is, why is this person doing that? Who are these people? What are what are the characters, and why are they here?
That's interesting. You mentioned the word characters, and we think about film and cinema and movies and acting.
Yeah.
You're always developing this persona. Now there's a real juxtaposition or a contrast there. When you're doing street photography, there's always a persona, but it's like real life. So no, you're not acting for the camera. This is real.
No, this is real.
Versus the cinema where you are acting.
We are characters in our own life. We're telling a story. There are moments of storytelling 100 times a day. So when I see that, when I see a person, it's who are they? They are filled with humanity. They have desires. They have wants. They have needs. What do they need? What do they need right this moment? What could possibly happen next in a frame? This is somehow in the middle. We're always in the middle of a before and after. So catching that middle moment that has been preceded by something, and it will be followed by something, intrigues me. Would you go in the water again for me?
Oh yeah. Sure. You want to come? Water? No?
No? Sometimes I'm drawn to a scene where I don't know what is happening, and there's something odd and disturbing or strange about it. Telling a story with a photograph, making a photograph that makes me feel something. Because I respond to photographs that make me feel something.
Will that always trump anything technical about photography, like, for example, composition, or you talked about feeling, right?
Yeah.
Or good light. For example, you'll see a lot of street photography out there that is really all about light.
Yes.
And many photographers have made a career out of just looking for good light and capturing events in good light, right?
Yeah.
A lot of silhouettes, hidden elements, and those technical aspects of the game, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, how important is that relative to the emotional side of photography?
For me, the emotional side will always get me. I'm much more interested in that than a technically perfect shot. I find I blur over if I see something that's really technically perfect. perfect. That's my taste. I'm amazed by it. I think it's beautiful. I can't do it. And maybe that's something that, if you have everything together, but if you're going to have one thing, I would go for make me feel something rather than a pretty picture. I have one camera, and it's a Fuji X100F. And it's the only camera I use. It's a fixed lens. It's unobtrusive. It does exactly what I want to do in the street. I love this camera because it's simple. I don't have to think about changing lenses. So I can focus on taking the shot and looking for the shot, and if I need to get closer, I just get a little closer. I have gear lust like anybody else.
That uses, from my understanding, it uses a 23 millimeter, which is equivalent to like a 35 millimeter focal length, right?
That's right.
Which is like traditionally like the best focal length for street photography because it's not too wide, but yet you can still get a portrait with it if you need to, and all of that, right?
Absolutely. But generally, I keep it on one setting and go. So yeah, and I think with a camera is like you have to. It's about getting the shot. It's about making the picture and making the photograph, and not really worrying too much about what you're doing. Keeping it simple, because then you don't have to think about that stuff, and your focus can be on the street.
So I get the feeling there are fewer, and I could be totally wrong about this, fewer female photographers than men. It just seems to me that it might be easier to shoot in public places as a woman for obvious reasons, especially when there are like children around, or certain situations where a woman might be trusted close versus a man being there. So what's your thought on the topic, and why aren't there more female street photographers?
Well, I think there are more coming out of the woodwork, Carmen. I really do. I feel that it's a very big supportive network. The female photographers out there are doing what they can to promote the female vision, to have competitions and organizations and seminars that are female-centered. And I think the support unit is helping grow the community of women street photographers. I think it's a male-dominated profession, so I think it will take time. But I do think that we're on the wave of more of us hitting the streets. And you're right, we can get in there. I love to take photographs of children, and I'm always sort of like getting in there. And there are some people who say, "Oh no, I never take a photograph of a child." I do, because I just find there's so many beautiful moments that I see of children in the streets. Well, the one photo I will talk about first is Mermaid, and it happened just down here on the beach, and I was walking along the beach, and I suddenly saw this scene out on this big long runway, which I refer to it as the runway, and it suddenly just, this runway was populated with this variety of characters, and the first thing I saw was the young girl walking toward me with this bathing suit on that said mermaid, and she had a snorkel on, and her whole face was the snorkel, but she was walking off the runway almost as if she was a model, and she was walking with the snorkel on, and behind her I looked at, there were other people. There was a woman and a child, and then there was another man, and then there was a young boy sitting on the edge, and I just started working that scene. The one I took recently is I was driving home, and I drove by the beach, and I saw this fog rolling in. And it was so eerie because it was fog in the middle of the day, and there was kind of sun in one part of the beach, and there was fog, and I pulled my car over, and I started running down to this big settling of water, this puddle of water, as the fog was creeping. And I didn't know what I was running toward, but I was running. And I thought, there's something down there. I know I'm going to get something. And I started snapping pictures when I got close enough. And the fog was leaving, and I wanted to get it before the fog would completely disappear. And I snapped this one shot of two boys that were by this water puddle, and then a couple further on. And there's kind of an eerie, otherworldly quality about it. They almost seem to be in a dreamlike state. The fog is kind of covering them, but not. And then there's this strange body of water that almost seems a little creepy and otherworldly.
Oh, wow.
Very mysterious shot. And I was just running because I thought, it's going away. The fog is going to leave. I got to get these shots.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being part of this. Also to getting together with you in the future for some other events that we're hopefully going to be putting together as we build this sort of community of street photographers in Toronto. So,
Would love that.
Maria, thanks very much.
That's great. Thanks so much, Carmen.